Here's a question I want you to think about. How much of your garden actually belongs to you? You spend money on seeds. You spend money on fertilizer. You spend months nursing fragile plants that collapse the moment weather turns against them. And when the season ends, what do you own? Nothing. Just empty soil and a bill for next year's supplies. You don't own a garden. You're leasing it from an industry that profits every time you start over. But there's a plant that shatters this business model completely. A plant so productive, so resilient, that once you put it in the ground, it feeds you for 2 decades without asking for another dime. It grows taller than a man. It fruits when everything else is dormant. And the harvest? It doesn't rot on your counter after a week. It sits in storage for half a year with zero refrigeration, zero canning, zero electricity. This plant existed in American gardens for generations. Then it disappeared, not because gardeners rejected it, because the seed industry couldn't monetize independence. The plant I'm talking about is the Tamarillo. It's a perennial food factory that makes the average garden vegetable look primitive by comparison. During the 1940s, when survival mattered more than aesthetics, this tree was everywhere. Homesteaders called it the ultimate victory crop because it required almost nothing and delivered everything. But once the war ended and consumerism took over, the Tamarillo quietly vanished from nursery catalogs. Within 20 years, a plant that had fed families through the Great Depression became a ghost. Here's the part that frustrates me most. The few people who rediscover this tree today usually destroy it after one season. Why? Because they don't understand how to use it. They bite into the fruit raw, recoil at the bitter skin, and assume the whole thing is a mistake. If this sounds like the kind of lost knowledge that matters, subscribe to Golden Vault Garden right now. We're uncovering the techniques they buried, and this is just the beginning. What they don't realize is they're 10 seconds away from unlocking something extraordinary. Let me show you how. Here's the technique that changes everything. Start with boiling water. While it's heating, take a knife and score a small X on the bottom of each fruit. Not deep, just enough to break the skin. When the water is rolling, drop the tamarillos in for exactly 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, pull them out and plunge them straight into ice water. The sudden temperature change does something almost magical. The skin loosens, and when you grab it with your fingers, it peels away in one smooth motion. No scraping, no wrestling with it. It just slides off. What you're left with is pure flesh, bright, vibrant, and completely free of bitterness. That's the fruit you eat. You can mash it into a sauce with salt, chili, and onions. You can slice it raw and put it on toast. You can blend it into a smoothie. However you use it, the flavor is bold, tangy, and nothing like the bland tomatoes you're used to. Comment "Unlocked" below if you're going to try this technique. Now that you know how to use it, let me show you how to grow it. The Tamarillo is subtropical. It thrives in USDA zones 9 through 11. If you live somewhere warm like Florida, Southern California, or parts of Texas, plant it directly in the ground and let it grow into a full-size tree. It doesn't need much, decent drainage, occasional water, that's it. If you're in a colder climate, don't write this off. The Tamarillo does exceptionally well in large containers. Grow it outside during the warm months, then bring it indoors before the first frost. It'll sit by a sunny window all winter, looking like an ornamental houseplant while quietly producing fruit. Most people won't even realize it's edible. This is your opportunity to stop depending on annual plants that die every season. Stop funding an industry that profits from your repeated purchases. Plant something that lasts. Build an asset that feeds you year after year without asking for anything in return. And if you want more techniques like this, more forgotten plants, more strategies for breaking free from the industrial food system, check out the Golden Vault Garden membership. Link is in the description. You get early access to videos, exclusive deep dives, and a community of people who are done playing the subscription game. Now, let me show you exactly why this tree is different from everything else you're growing. A standard tomato plant gives you 30 pounds of fruit, then dies. Next spring, you're back at the store buying seeds and fertilizer all over again. The Tamarillo is a perennial tree. Once planted, it produces 150 pounds per year for 20 years. That's 3,000 pounds over its lifetime, 100 times the yield for a fraction of the labor. And unlike tomatoes that flood you in August, the Tamarillo ripens in winter when your garden is dead. Imagine stepping into your yard in January and picking fresh vitamin C off a tree while your neighbors are scraping ice off their windshields. That's not just abundance, that's strategic abundance. So if this tree is so productive, why isn't it everywhere? Drop a comment and tell me, did you know this tree existed before today? I'm genuinely curious how thoroughly they erased it. While the Tamarillo was fading into obscurity, the tomato industry was perfecting something entirely different. They weren't breeding for flavor or nutrition. They were breeding for uniformity, for shippability, for shelf appeal. The modern supermarket tomato is designed to survive a cross-country truck ride and look picture-perfect under fluorescent lights. Taste is optional. The Tamarillo never had a chance in that system. It's not uniform, it's not predictable, and most damning of all, it doesn't need to be replaced every year. So it got quietly phased out. Nurseries stopped carrying it. Gardeners forgot it existed. But here's what they didn't anticipate. While they were busy erasing the Tamarillo, they accidentally preserved its greatest advantage. The Tamarillo comes from the Andes Mountains in South America. The Incas cultivated it deliberately because it thrived in conditions that killed other crops. This was a tree bred for survival, not convenience. Agricultural extension offices promoted it. Garden clubs featured it. By the time World War II arrived and food rationing became a national priority, the Tamarillo was a cornerstone of the Victory Garden movement. One tree could feed a household and still have fruit left over to share with neighbors. But the post-war economy had different priorities. The 1950s weren't about independence, they were about consumption. Chemical companies wanted to sell fertilizers. Seed companies wanted to sell annuals. A tree that required one purchase and 20 years of free food didn't fit the new model. They replaced a durable asset with a disposable product and convinced you it was progress. If you're starting to see why this tree had to be buried, hit that like button. Let's show the algorithm that people care about real food security, not corporate dependency. Let's talk about what makes this fruit remarkable. First, the flavor. Don't expect a sweet, watery supermarket tomato. The Tamarillo is intense, tangy, savory, almost citrus-like. Think tomato crossed with passion fruit. It's complex, not simple. But taste is secondary to what really makes this fruit special. A regular tomato is defenseless. The skin is thin. Leave it on the counter for 5 days and it's already attracting fruit flies. A week later, it's mush. The Tamarillo is armored. The skin is thick, almost leathery. It acts as a natural barrier that insects can't penetrate and bacteria can't breach. You can harvest a basket in December, store it in a cool room with no special equipment, and still be eating fresh Tamarillo salsa in April. 6 months of shelf life, no refrigeration, no preservatives, just time. Think about what that means when electricity isn't reliable, or when supply chains break down, or even just during a long winter when fresh food is expensive. This isn't convenience. This is survival. If you're ready to stop renting your garden and start owning it, here's what I need from you. Hit the like button. It signals to YouTube that this kind of content matters, and it helps us reach more people who are tired of being dependent on a system designed to keep them buying. Subscribe to Golden Vault Garden. We're not just growing plants here, we're recovering knowledge that was deliberately buried. Every video is another piece of the puzzle, another tool for independence. And hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one, because we're just getting started. Now, tell me in the comments, after seeing the numbers, after understanding what this tree can do, would you plant a Tamarillo or stick with annual tomatoes? I'm genuinely curious where you stand. Knowledge isn't lost, it's just hidden. And here at Golden Vault Garden, we're making sure you find it again. See you in the next vault.